Bio-PDO study adds carbon data to renewable materials sector. Bio-based materials are under more pressure to prove their climate value, not just market their renewable origins. A recently published Nova Institute study adds another data point to that shift, highlighting the lower reported climate footprint of bio-based 1,3-propanediol, or Bio-PDO, compared with conventionally produced propanediol made from crude oil. The analysis focuses on Bio-PDO marketed as Zemia propanediol and Cestera propanediol. These corn dextrose-derived materials are used across cosmetics, personal care, industrial fluids, cooling systems, and other specialty chemical applications. According to the life cycle assessment conducted by sustainability consultancy True North Collective for Primient, the bio-based alternative showed the potential to reduce carbon footprint by 86%, equal to 4.41 kilograms of CO2 equivalent, compared with fossil-based PDO. For manufacturers and procurement teams, the bigger takeaway is not simply that the material is bio-based. It is that renewable carbon products are increasingly being judged through life cycle data that covers more than the source of the feedstock. The assessment reviewed 22 impact categories, including greenhouse gas emissions, land use, and the carbon dioxide absorbed during corn growth. It also used primary data across the value chain, included scenario analysis, and was submitted to an independent panel for review. That matters as product-level carbon data becomes more important for sustainability claims, supplier scorecards, and Scope 3 emissions reporting. Companies can no longer rely on broad language around green or natural ingredients. Buyers want numbers, assumptions, and review processes they can stand behind. Bio-PDO fits into a wider move across the chemical sector, where companies are looking beyond packaging and consumer-facing materials to reduce fossil-based inputs deeper in supply chains. Specialty chemicals, performance ingredients, and industrial fluids may not always get the spotlight, but they are increasingly part of corporate decarbonization plans. Lower carbon potential does not remove the need for due diligence. The reported 86% carbon footprint reduction gives Bio-PDO a clear climate advantage in this comparison, but it does not make the material impact-free. Crop-based feedstocks still involve agriculture, fertilizer use, energy inputs, transport, processing, and land use considerations. That is why the structure of the life cycle assessment is important. By looking across multiple impact categories, the study gives buyers a broader view of possible trade-offs. A lower greenhouse gas footprint is valuable, but sustainability teams also need to understand what happens across the full production chain. The role of biogenic carbon is also central. Corn absorbs carbon dioxide while it grows, which can improve the climate profile of corn dextrose-derived materials. However, the final carbon benefit depends on the entire life cycle, including how the material is produced, transported, used, and managed. For B2B buyers, this is where the study is most useful. It supports the idea that some bio-based alternatives can provide measurable carbon reductions when compared with fossil-based products. It also reinforces the need to assess each material on its own data, rather than assuming all bio-based inputs deliver the same result. The findings are especially relevant for companies working to lower Scope 3 emissions tied to purchased goods and materials. Ingredients such as Bio-PDO may offer a route to reduce fossil reliance without major reformulation, provided suppliers can support performance requirements and provide credible life cycle data. Still, life cycle results vary by feedstock, production efficiency, regional energy mix, and end-use application. For procurement, product development, and sustainability teams, the practical lesson is straightforward. Bio-based materials need evidence, not hype. As demand for lower carbon inputs grows, studies like this are likely to influence supplier expectations and purchasing decisions. For producers of renewable carbon materials, the next challenge is scaling supply while maintaining transparency, performance, and reviewed life cycle advantages.